Hello, my name is Annette, and in this presentation I will be assessing the fragility of Bosnia and Herzegovina, and I will prove how it is indeed a fragile state. For over a decade, Bosnia has been in political deterioration, and the country has been worsening more and more through the years, causing several political and economical instabilities, security threats by radical Islam, fading European and American interests, and Bosnia is struggling into becoming a normal European state. Although troops are indeed helping the country, the political instabilities of the country are leaving Bosnia vulnerable, leaving people hopeless and in desperation for change. The country is now stuck in what it was a brutal civil war that taught the world ethnic cleansing, and the Dayton Agreement that secured a peace is the result of two divisions in the country to two ethnic entities, the Republic of Srpska and a federation of nominal Muslims and Catholic Croats. Adding to this, there is a national layer of government, with its own ethnically based structure, causing numerous inequalities and conflict among people of different ethnic groups. The Dayton Peace Accord was the catalyst of these instabilities, causing mainly weak political system and a crisis of its own war. Muslims would therefore represent a majority, but it's causing many conflicts as Serbs are not willing to become a minority and are causing many fights, and are therefore willing for Bosnia to remain a decentralized country, without even helping the country into a developing nation. In the worst case, they would want to vote for self-independence from the rest of Bosnia, which would therefore cause many conflicts. The atmosphere of the country is becoming worse than it was in 1991 and 1992. This is consequently affecting the society, causing many conflicts, and these ethnic divisions are being reinforced. As in schools, children are, for example, clearly divided by their religion, such as Croats and Bosniak Muslims are separated in different floors of high schools. Institutions don't teach any knowledge in history, and conflicts and ignorance among children are happening more and more. In these conditions, a liberalist point of view towards Bosnia, in contrast to a realist, is for them to join the EU, in contrast to realism, which leans more towards a greater autonomy. The situation in Bosnia could also be related to East Timor, as similarities are happening as when they broke away from Indonesia, for example. And similar conflicts are happening within the government, society, and economy as well. And the country is also currently trying to build their nation once again. This indeed qualifies Bosnia as a fragile state. As the definition states, a fragile state is a country in which the state institutions are weak or lack stability, and whose population suffer from extreme poverty, violence, corruption, and political arbitrariness. Due to the division mentioned earlier, Bosnia indeed has a weak government, which therefore creates a weaker economy and numerous consequences for the country, such as unemployment, poverty, and unsettlement among people. Due to this, there is an absence of power, meaning that there is no ability to affect change, and to positively affect the country into developing politically and economically once again. After the Dayton Peace Accords ended the brutal civil war in Bosnia and Herzegovina, Bosnia remained as what we define a fragile state or failed nation. The country was also split into two ethnically based entities, the Republic of Srpska, which is mainly a Serb majority region, and the Federation of Muslims called Dosa Bosniaks, predominantly of Catholic Croats. Both of these entities have their own governments, such as representatives for them. Furthermore, according to the Fragile States Index, or FSI, which assesses a state fragility and vulnerability to collapse, Bosnia's current fragility index is located within 71.3 FSI in 2018. Although from 2006 from now, this index has been improving from a higher score of 88.5 to the current lowest in 2018 of 71.3, which is still pretty elevated, and a higher rating is always worse for countries in development, while it locates itself in the 19th ranking of 178 countries in the world. In contrast to this, some people think that the annual index ranking states according to the failings is illogical and may worsen the instability it seeks to describe. The ranking then becomes not accurate as most of these indexes are difficult to construct, as many studies have shown. Therefore, this ranking then becomes inaccurate and irrelevant. And as the term failed state also becomes vague, as no state is failed, and it always has improvements to make. and also discourages states and people from succeeding, which is overall a classist, demotivating, and inaccurate system of ranking. The most relevant issues in Bosnia within the factors that qualify a state as a fragile state, assisted by the Fund for Peace, are mainly the factionalized elites, external intervention, and refugees and IDPs, or internal displaced persons, which contribute to the state having this particular ranking. This is mainly projected as within citizens, as there is a clear division between citizens and Bosnia possesses two different political entities. The government in Bosnia having a lot of control over the population and over the historic knowledge of citizens as well. The country was also split into two ethnically based entities due to the Dayton Agreement, which entraining the ethnic cleansing that occurred in the previous years, by dividing the country into the following groups: the Republika Srpska, which is mainly a Serb majority religion, and the Federation of Muslims, also called Bosniaks, predominantly of Catholic Croats, which is also causing major inequalities within the people. Adding to this, people from the country are immigrating to other countries, due to the mentioned instabilities. Migration is also growing by a considerable amount in Bosnia, an apparent 350%, according to many sources. This migration is illegal and is significantly increasing. People are trying to cross the border between Croatia and Bosnia due to the signs of desperation. Reportedly, during the past 9 months of this year, more than 600 illegal immigrants have been reported by crossing the border from Bosnia to Croatia, and experts are not sure for how long this problem will persist. It is reported that about 9,900 Bosnians, Croats, Serbs, and Bosniaks are displaced by inter-ethnic violence, human rights violations, and armed conflicts during the 1992 to 1995 war. In the case of Bosnia, politics and culture affect and matter more than the degree of fragility, as Muslims would not passively concede Bosnia's partition and independence without a fight. Therefore, the political and cultural aspects come to frame, as for example the upcoming elections, which are in difficulties, as the representatives from three ethnic groups, as mentioned, are not equally seen, and therefore fights and inequalities within votants are happening once again. While saying a state is failed is a vague and inaccurate word, the ranking of this can also be helpful as it triggers a debate about places that don't always get the attention, such as for example the case of Bosnia, but that are indeed relevant to the world and politics. This also spreads awareness and provides of information to people, in order for those failed states to receive the help needed from other foreign countries, as this is not always the case, such as for example with DR Congo. That even though the state is in desperate need for help from other important countries, they are not sending the help needed and supporting them, because they rather send to more important countries in their opinion. But it's always a good way for countries in these conditions to be more recognized and to hopefully get some kind of help and to make progress. As mentioned earlier, the Failed States Index, or FSI, is beneficial for states in order to improve, and for other nations to hopefully send the help needed to them. On the other side, it may worsen the instability it seeks to describe, and as the article states, it is neither useful nor responsible to rank states according to their perceived failings, and becomes depressive for some countries to be classed based on their fragility and chances to fail. It also compares it in an unfair way states, saying which is worse or better. In addition, it does not state where progress of these are made, and in which areas, and only focuses on the negative aspects. Finally, we can say that we should always be concerned about what's happening in the world, as for example this might affect us as well, as instability in a country generates more instability. In the case of migration, Switzerland could be the target of immigration from Bosnia. In this case, and also other parts of the world, as it's a more economically and politically stable country. It could be interest to other immigrants due to the opportunity, but could not always be beneficial as it might generate other problems, as it also might bring violence and the rates of unemployment would increase. And although Switzerland appears to be a very economically developed nation, the fragility of other states might have an impact on surrounding nations, including Switzerland as well. Though a point to consider is that Switzerland is also increasingly engaged in fragile countries and regions, making this involvement part of its international cooperation strategy from 2013 to 2016. In conclusion, we can say that Bosnia is indeed a fragile state, but it has a lot of room for improvement in the near future if only the population gives a chance for improvement, which might also solve the instabilities of the country little by little. Thank you very much.